Welcome to a PowerPLAY replay. I'm Tonya McGrath. I'm on assignment this week for my upcoming film project, More Than Our Skin. So I'm bringing you a replay of my conversation with director Steve Lucas, one of the reasons I became a director. I'll be back next week with a two-part special, my sit-down with Helena J. of Defining You. You won't want to miss this powerful conversation. So until then, I invite you to enjoy this replay of the PowerPLAY shows Fade to Black with Steve Lucas. Enjoy. Fade up. Cue music. Dissolve still store. Cut live. Fade to black. Words my guest this week has uttered for decades, and he had a little cameo in front of the camera as well. For 40 years, Steve Lucas directed the major news stories that changed our world. And this week, he talks about his path, what he misses and doesn't miss, and what's next for the newly retired young man. That's next on the PowerPLAY show.
From the studios at Hull Bay Productions, this is the PowerPLAY.
Welcome to the PowerPLAY show. I'm Tonya McGrath. Steve Lucas is an Emmy Award-winning director who retired in 2019 after nearly 40 years of working in the television industry. Most recently, he directed NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, a position he held for 5 years, while also directing other NBC network shows, including The Today Show, Today with Kathy Lee and Hoda, and Dateline, to name a few. Steve has been recognized with 13 local and national Emmy Awards and more than 15 Emmy nominations, and has been a recipient of the McDonald's Black Media Legends Award and the Greater Boston YMCA Black Achievers Award. Throughout his career, Steve has served formally and informally as a mentor to many, including me. As one of the more defining moments in his career, Steve was on the air at WNBC TV in New York on September 11, 2001, directing the station's coverage of the attack on the World Trade Center as the news broke that morning. Steve's brief recounting of the day was included in the book Running Toward Danger: Stories Behind the Breaking News of 9/11. At his retirement, members of the NBC Nightly News production team awarded him a plaque, bestowing him with a newly created title, the People's Director. It contains the inscription, "For our Steve, the People's Director, with respect, affection, and love to the best director ever." Steve Lucas, welcome to the PowerPLAY show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And, you know, I've seen you and worked with you when you were, you know.
Yes.
So this is a pleasure to do.
Yeah, let me just put that in context, because you, of course, was co-producing and directing my mom's specials at WGBH, and I was like the PA running around just being told what to do and that kind of thing. But boy, did we have a lot of fun back then.
Yes. Oh, yes. Those were great times. Excellent times. Yes.
Awesome. So listen, 40 years. And I thought it was a big feat when I walked away from television after 25 years, but does it seem like a real big blur to you?
Well, yes and no. I mean, 40 years, wow, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, really. It seems like yesterday. I think that, you know, going through everything that, you know, all the years that I've been in, and, you know, I just received the IU Distinguished Alumni Award. So that kind of, you know, brought back a lot of memories and stuff while I was in the process of writing the speech. And that really, you know, sort of, you know, brought back those 40 years of just being in the industry and the people that I came in contact with. You know, it's been a ride, and it's been a fun ride. And I'm glad that I had the chance to experience everything that I've done and the people that I've met, and also the people that I have mostly been able to mentor. Because, as you know, people of color and BIPOC people are not really, you know, represented the way that they should, or given the opportunities, or even given the encouragement. And that's one of the things that when I was, you know, trying to even come up in the career, I, you know, ran across people of color and other people that, you know, helped me and mentored me, and I would not have gotten where I am or was today, was because of the fact of people who took the time out and decided to mentor me along the way. So I wanted to pay that forward, and I made it, one of my things to, when I was even, at the network, I would see people, people of color, or, anybody, but I would, especially people of color, go up and introduce myself to them, because I thought it was something important to do, so that they would feel comfortable and seeing that I am approachable, and also too, if there's anything that I can do to help further your career, just to give advice, and the politics of the station and the building. So we would go for coffee. They would send me an email, can we get together for coffee? I need to talk to you about some items. And it was, I found that to be just as rewarding as the things that I was able to achieve throughout my career, is to be able to really pay it forward and give some help to those coming into the business.
And who are some of those people for you when you were an up and coming director? Who were some of those people that helped influence you and mentor you in those early years?
Oh, I got to go back to when I first got into the business. There was a good friend of mine named Joe Hoffman, who, when I was in Louisville, Kentucky, because I did an internship there, and I got hired back straight out of college. Wasn't making much money, had a little bean bag for my bed, and milk crates, but I had a stereo, and I had the little empty apartment. So I was so he took interest in me because he was directing the news and public affairs shows, and the things that sometimes he didn't want to direct them, so he knew I was interested in wanting to be a director, so he would let me direct those shows, and sort of cut my chops at doing that, because he knew that that's what I was really interested in becoming, was a director. I was a production assistant at the time. And so then he got a phone call from one of the stations that he worked at in Terre Haute, Indiana. And they said, we're looking for a director. Do you know anyone? And he said, yeah, Steve, he would be perfect for you guys.
Wow.
So did the interview, went there, and I got it. It was, and people were like, you're crazy. That's a 190-second market. You'll never come back up, I said, well, I got to get the title. I mean, I need the title of a director. So this is something that I have to do. The station was literally in the middle of a cornfield. And,
wow.
So I would go there, and we would, I was switching, directing, and running the Chiron. It was a one-man band, rolling the commercials, and all of that stuff gave me the experience of directing and stuff. So that was really my first. And then my other, moving out of there, I was there in Terre Haute for what I would say 10 long months. A good friend of mine was the fraternity brother, my Sands. He was directing too. He left the year before me, and he was working in Nashville, and he was going across town to the ABC affiliate, and he said, hey, Steve, I'm getting ready to go over there. Are you interested in moving to Nashville? I said, yes. And so did the interview, long story short, got the job, switching and directing the newscast and everything. And so that helped. So that was, those were the beginning of people networking and also, paying it forward and helping me. As I further along, was into affiliates and moving from market to market. One of the things that people that I met was Steve James. Actually this was at GDH. Ron Milton.
Oh yeah.
I was directing something, a show or something. So in between breaks that we were, taking a break, he came up to me and said, hey, Steve, I got an email from a friend of mine. He used to work here in Boston. His name is Steve James. He's looking for a director in New York. Would you be interested? He said he asked me if I was interested. He said no. He said, but maybe I have a guy that might be interested in doing this. So Ron gave me his name, and I called Steve up. And, one thing led to another. I met him. I met the news director at the time, which Paula Madison. And, they said, well, what would you like to do? I said, well, I'd definitely like to be a news director. In Boston, I was also senior director there and everything. So they said, well, you have management, experience and all of that. Are you going to be able to, give that up? I said, no problem. This is something that, I want to do, and I want to my goal and my goal, even in college when I was pledging Kappa, one of the things was, they made us with our break put in the information of where you saw yourself 20 years from now. And in that, I want to be able to be a director at NBC Network. So that has always been the kind of thought process within my head at the time when I was coming up or trying to get into the industry. So Steve James, he brought me in. I was able to do some directing there. Then another young lady, Susan McNeely, I told her when I was working in local at WNBC in New York, I said, I want to get into the network. She said, well, let's work on that. Let's make this happen. So she was instrumental as well as far as getting me, exposure. And I met people, John Libretto, Brad Holey. And so all of that. So all of those people that I met and networked with were responsible for, pushing me forward into the network.
Wow.
Hope I answered your question. That was a
yes. But, and I do have to say, and you have done that same for others, because I remember several years ago, and I was a director at WGBH, and you would call me and say, hey, there's a director position in New York, blah, 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 and you would do the same thing for me. And, I had a family here, so I couldn't make the leap, but I really... You did. But I do appreciate how you paid it forward as other people did for you. And I think that is an extraordinary gift that you have. I get asked this question all the time. And so I'm going to ask you, what is the best and the worst part of being in the big chair?
Oh, okay. Let me start with the worst. Is that you're the only person in the big chair and you are answering to everyone. I mean, the director, interfaces with everybody from the crew to the talent to the executives, the EP, and you have to satisfy everybody. So you're the one man band, and there's only one director. There's other talents and whatever camera people, everything. There's staff, but there is only one director. So the worst part is the fact that yes, you have to navigate through all of that. And you're under time crunch, you're under and you've got to be creative, you got to be quick on your feet, you got to understand the process, and you have to understand how everybody works in order to get the best out of people. So that's I don't know if that's the worst part of it, but it's the process. And if you don't have the patience and the wherewithal to deal with that,
and the thick skin,
that's true. That's true, because you're dealing with that. You're dealing with personalities and stuff. So I would say that is the worst. But then the flip side is when you're able to execute it.
Yes,
the thrill. The process, you have to be what I call an adrenaline junkie to get through, stuff like that. I mean, I can give you an example with, there's so many shows, oh my God, especially with Knightley and with Lester. There was one in particular, it was a crazy show. This was, we had an executive, she was new, and she had new ideas, and this was doing the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania train derailment. And it really, was crazy and everything. So she came up with the idea that she wanted to do Lester, the entire broadcast from a helicopter. So we're going, okay, this is, line of sight with the helicopter, and it's a microwave signal, and it can go out at any second, and you're talking about doing an entire half-hour newscast up in a helicopter. Yes, let's make it happen. That's all I heard. Okay. So, it's crazy. We're getting through it. And, so we had a backup plan. The backup plan was Peter Alexander. He was down on the ground so that if Lester's chopper went out, we could immediately go to Peter and stuff. So couple of times during the show, we're up there and we go into a peak, and all of a sudden, black come up on Lester's shot. We lost his signal. Okay, Peter, we're coming to you. We just lost Lester. He said, okay, I'm ready. He's had the script. He was ready to go. And we get there and we're about to come out in 3, 2, Lester pops up. Okay, take Lester. Sorry, Peter. So, I guess, it's the thrill of having to go through situations like that. And even stories, the craziest story was a Paris bombing. We had to get Lester, they wanted to send Lester out on location. And they said, okay, let's get him there. Our, London Bureau, they're really responsible for facilitating the crews and getting them in place and location. They usually have a remote truck and, satellite truck they usually send, but they said by the time we reach there, they wouldn't be able to make it in time. So they had to get an outside vendor to come and facilitate us. So we said, okay. An hour before air, we finally saw a shot from the location where Lester was. And I said, okay, the first problem was the operator was French and he spoke no English. So I told the EP, you're not going to get over the shoulders. It's just going to be a basic lockdown shot on Lester because he doesn't understand English. He doesn't know pan left, pan right, or any of that. Mm-hmm. So that's first off. And second, the other crazy thing was there was no prompter. They couldn't get the prompter working. So the producer out there with Lester on the field, she had an iPad, so we were able to send her the scripts and she would put the prompter inside the iPad for Lester to read. But the craziest thing, I guess the third option was, and this is like an hour, half hour, 10 minutes before air, we found, we did a sync test to see how long of a delay. Usually most satellite delays are 2 seconds or something like that when you're out on location. This was an 8-second delay.
Whoa.
And I'm going, oh my God, So I got in Lester's ear and I said, Lester, you just have to trust me. There's an 8-second delay. And I'm going to cue you early. When I do, you just have to go. Okay. He said, okay, all right. So, and for people that really don't understand, you're hearing the broadcast in your ear and it's 8 seconds before. So when we're coming out of a piece, you count 8 seconds before reality, but people at home don't know this, and it's still going on in his ear, and he's thinking, it's still within the piece. So luckily, he trusted me, and we got through it. So those are the things, and it was a seamless broadcast, but as you're going through it, it doesn't feel good. So that's the bad.
No, it doesn't.
The good is when you're able to pull it off,
Yeah. So to all aspiring directors, you need strong math skills. Strong math skills. All right. We're going to take a quick break. More with director Steve Lucas when we continue. You're listening to the PowerPLAY Show.
Steve, every night as we approach 7 o'clock, I walk over to my final mark here and I say goodnight to the audience. And I usually walk right over to the desk. And before I take my IFB and my microphone out, thank Jen, and I thank you. You are the captain of our ship, and it's not going to be the same. Not saying goodbye to you every night and thank you for what you do, but this is what I want to do is thank you for what you do. You've been an inspirational leader on this team for a long time. And to me as well, and I've shared this with you, so it's no secret. One of my early aspirations in this business was to be a director. I settled for this, but a director was what I really wanted to be. And I know I made you crazy at times saying, what if we did this? And you swoop in and the jib and the blimp, and you have humored me, usually with the words, slow your roll, young grasshopper. I love that. I will always think of Grasshopper and what you have told me. Thank you for everything you do. We're really going to miss you, my friend.
Hi, I'm Millicent Meadows. I'm one of 5 women in the upcoming documentary, More Than Our Skin. It's about our vitiligo journey from beginning to present. Now, what we're doing right now, we're doing a raffle, a great raffle. There's 4 baskets, 4 gifts to give away. Personally, I would like basket 4. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I want you to go on the website, morethanourskin.org/raffle, and buy your tickets. There's 1 ticket for $5, and then you get 3 tickets for $10 and 5 for $20. Now, the 5 for $20 is a good deal. I'm telling you, it's a good deal. I want you to tell your family and your friends about it and just spread the word. Matter of fact, while you're on the site, I want you to check out the trailers and the blogs of all these women. I'm telling you, you're going to be touched. You're going to be touched. I won't be shocked if you cry a little bit. But listen, this is just a wonderful cause. This is all for building up the vitiligo community, just making that platform higher and higher. As I always say, we just keep rising. So please support this documentary. It's dear and near to my heart, and I'm sure it will be to yours, okay? So remember, this raffle ends November 30th, and there's 4 gifts to give away. You got something for the women, you have something for the men, and something for the kids. So I'm telling you, the gifts are awesome, and like I said, 1 ticket is $5, 3 tickets for $10, and 5 for $20. Okay? So again, go on morethanourskin.org/raffle, and buy your tickets. Be blessed.
Welcome back to the PowerPLAY show with my guest, Steve Lucas. I want to get into some of your work, specifically some of the news stories you covered in your career. And I want to start with 9/11, which I mentioned at the top of the show. How did that day start for you?
Okay, at the time I was at WNBC, directing the early morning show. It was called Today in New York. It's the show that comes on before the Today Show. So I'm usually at work by 3:30 in the morning, and our show comes on the air at around 5 o'clock, 5:30. So we're on for about an hour, 2 hours before the Today Show happens. So during the Today Show, there are usually what they call cut-ins, which are 5 minutes on the half hour at 25 and 55 for local programming to do their local news during the Today Show. So the week before, so we usually do our updates during our newscast during that time. But what happened was, one time after the cut-in, I went upstairs to the newsroom, and the news director said, "Steve, you got to go back down. Some idiot flew into the World Trade Center." And the week before, we had done a story. It was about some parasailing guy was at the Statue of Liberty, and he was stuck up there and doing some crazy stuff. So I was thinking it was one of those kind of pranks or something like that. So we get down into the control room. It's for one of the cut-ins, and we go on the air. And we're getting the information coming in. We had phoners calling in, and one guy we put on the air, and he was like, "I was there. I saw it. The plane hit the building." And we're like, "What?" So it really, as the story is now really unfolding live on air, we figured out that this was something bigger than what it really was. And, we started getting phone calls in. We started getting, slow camera shots from field crews were sending in signals, getting up our live shots and everything like that. And finally we had material showing, the collapse of the building and everything. And this was really, it's like, you in real time, and you're seeing this for the first time, you don't know what's going on here. Well, are we being invaded? What is this happening? And our general manager, Dennis Swanson, he came into the control room. He said, by the way, we just got word that, 30 Rock may be one of the targets as well. So we want to let you guys know that, if you want to leave the building, we totally get it. It's up to you. This is your call. So I got on headset with the crew, and I said, if anybody wants to leave, you can go. I'm going to stay, and just so you know that this is what's going on. Everybody on the crew said we're staying.
Wow.
because this is one of the moments in life when you have to say, we are our service. And if you think about it, when you're in the news business, we didn't know who out there was getting the information, but we are the source of information to get out to the public that this is what was going on. I was the only one there because I was there to do the early morning show. All the other directors, if you think about Manhattan as an island, so a lot of them lived in New Jersey and other parts. So all the bridges were shut down.
Right.
You could not get across the bridge. So they were trying to make it into Manhattan, but they had to go all the way up north towards Tarrytown and work their way back down. So by the time I was on air from that morning until about 8:30 at night, because by the time the rest of the directors could get to the building, it took that long for them to get there. Wow. So I was on the air with that the whole time. So it was one of, I guess that's one of the craziest, and especially because you have to realize communications, telephones weren't really working well.
That's right.
We had cell phones. Their cell phones were sporadic. I didn't know how my family was doing, if anything happened to them. So all of these things were going through your head, but also you had to put the information out there. And it was even to the point where there was a second plane that hit the building. And we have footage of it, and the EP was like, well, Steve, I thought I said let's not keep playing the same footage. I said this is a new this is the second building, this is new footage. And he went, oh my God, so yes, those one of those days I'll never forget.
Yeah, surreal. Yeah, it's same. I mean, I remember it was primary day here in Boston, and so I had 4 crews because this was Menino's last election before he had decided to not run again. And so we had 4 crews out all over Massachusetts. I got into the newsroom about 7:30 and it was nice and quiet. I think I had the Today Show on, as a matter of fact, and all of a sudden it cut to the shot of the hole in the tower. And I just kind of sat there and I'm like, first of all, that's not a little plane. I just thought like a little plane would just probably bounce off and and what was it, a half an hour later, 40 minutes later, when the second tower hit, and I immediately called all the crews back. I said everyone back, and no one really, like you said, I mean, we had cell phones, but I think we had Nextels back then. And I was just like, everybody back to the station. And we went live for 5 consecutive nights. I think the second call I made after I told everyone to come back, was to my father-in-law at the time. And I said, I need you to go get my kids from the school and just keep them. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. And I ended up staying, I think I was there for 48 hours before I actually went home. And it was just, the enormity of it, you can't really even explain. And there was so much we still didn't know. And then it was really, and I'm proud to have been a director because, as you know, we set the tone. So we can't be hysterical. We can't be crying. We have to get everybody gathered and feel like this is important. We have to do this. But boy, did I weep after those 2 days. I just wept, and uncontrollably, actually. It was just the enormity of all of it.
Even the weirdest thing afterwards, because as I said, I was there till 8 o'clock, almost 9 o'clock. The other directors got there, and it was like, there was no way I could even go home because I live in Jersey and the bridges were shut down. Yeah. And so they said, Steve, no problem. We got your room in Times Square, one of the hotels there. So on my way, I'm walking over to the hotel. And New York and Times Square is probably one of the busiest locations, and it's always crowded, noisy. It was like a ghost town. It was the eeriest sound. You know, New York is always, you always hear something, you know, cars going, whatever. Only thing I could hear, when you can hear the light, the LED lights, the lights and stuff like that, the fluorescent lights, the buzz. That's what I recall on my way over to the hotel. Only thing you could hear is the buzz from all the neon signs and stuff like that. And I've never seen Times Square that empty, which was crazy.
Yeah. Another historic moment, of course, was the election and then subsequent inauguration of our first Black president, President Barack Obama.
Yes.
And so tell me, you know, as a director, as a man of color, what did that moment do for you?
Well, you know, that moment will probably, it has a special place in my heart for that, because that was the first day I was, you know, my first day into the network was election night, inauguration night for Barack Obama. So that was my first day officially in the network. And I worked, I worked in the control room during the whole, you know, inauguration and everything. It was a first, because also for myself, there was, you know, they were saying, you know, you are one of the first Black directors to really take over the network and do nightly as a network director. Coming into the network. There's another director, he works in Washington, Jeff Blunt, who was there, has been there for a while as well. But for me, getting into the network and directing and being the main director of color had a lot of significance to me. And that's what, you know, I remember. And all of this was, you know, it was a first, because it was a first for our president. It was a first for me. It was a first for the network to do something like that. So that has a personal, I guess, you know, little notch for me that I remember.
That's awesome. You were also worked two Olympics, I should say, in Athens and then in Salt Lake City, Utah.
And three, Italy, Torino.
Oh, okay. And three.
That was
So talk about that, because that's just a whole other different level of producing and directing on an international stage, right?
Yes. That was a lot of fun. I came in, I was an AD for that. And that, you know, I would say, that John Gilmartin, he was and John Ruane was really responsible for getting me on board, because I always told, I had a meeting with Ruane and I said, look, I've done stuff when I was in Boston. I was, you know, doing all kind of stuff for the network, for the football and baseball commercial controls and stuff like that. So when I got to New York, they said, hey, Steve, come see us. But when I first started working at WNBC, I was doing the early morning show. So as you know, you're there at 2:30 in the morning and every day. And I was like, by the time I was beat. So I said, okay, let me get my bearings here, and then I'll reach out to the sports guys. So finally I did, and Wayne and those guys were instrumental in getting me on board, and got my first, you know, chance of going into the Olympics and working with them. I worked with Mary Cervello. She did the Olympic ice, and we did a show there, and it was fun. It was a lot of work, long hours. You worked 14 hours a day, and you had no off days. You were there for the entire 2 weeks. It was straight. But it was invigorating. It was one of the best, you know, experiences that I had, you know, as far as doing the sports. And I was able to get a couple of those Emmys too from the sport. So that's cool.
What other stories in your 40-year career do you say have impacted you emotionally? And I'll just quickly share one. And for me, it was the covering of the Sandy Hook mass shooting, and then seeing President Obama come on an early afternoon with tears in his eyes. And I think that's, for me, it was just significant with just how evil things were getting in the news industry. So I wonder what kind of stories impacted you emotionally that you can think of.
I would say that definitely was up there, because I was on the air for the special report when Obama landed, was meeting with the family and everything like that. That was definitely a moment that I won't forget as well. Also, doing special reports for when that happened, we were on the air for that as well. It's when you see something like that, especially for school kids, that's a totally different realm, and you wonder, where are we going as a nation when it gets to this point? And hopefully we can do something about gun control and everything. But even I remember Obama, yes, he was emotional about that and teared up and said, if this doesn't do it, I don't know what will. And that, I think, is a defining moment in our nation, to say, look, how do we want to perceive ourselves or see ourselves? And even with, there was, I would say, even the hurricane in Puerto Rico, the devastation there, and just that people could not. They went months without any type of electricity or power or anything of that nature. Lester, we sent him there. Again, another crazy story, but trying to get on air, but there were no cell sites. There was only one cell site on the island, and so they had to record all of his intros and outros and everything, and rush to the cell site, which was about a 30-minute drive, and feed back all of his intros and outros for the newscast. And they were coming in as we're on the air, and this clip is ready, and I'm cross-rolling between that and the actual piece and stuff like that. But it's just, you get to the point that you've done so many of these different shows and tragedies, you just say, I don't want to become numb to this, because
right.
It was always something. Here's another thing. Next week it was this, it was that, and so you get to the point where you say, okay, I don't want it to become that it's just another piece of material up there, and you lose your perspective of what it's really about. And I'm glad that never happened. But I know some people who kind of express that, and to be able to detox, or some kind of way to have some kind of help with social help, or something like that. There are people that had that. For me, I was able to process it, and my wife, I'd come home, we'd talk about it and stuff, and I was able to get through most of that. But it does take a toll. It does.
It does. It's the stuff that you can't ever unsee. And as television directors and producers, unlike first responders who are prepared for that level of trauma, we really aren't. I mean, I used to think that, okay, I have this big monitor wall that's keeping me from the real world, right? But when you're there, and to just see what I had to see, the carnage of it all, I knew then, and that was in 2013, and then I retired in 2015, because for me, I couldn't stomach it anymore. And I wanted to do, what I wanted to do was to tell people stories that uplifted people, and not have to respond to that kind of stuff. So, but it's right, it's the toll, it's the weight of it, and you can't, no matter how much we get up the next day and it's a new show, whatever, you can't really unsee those things. And but I'm grateful for having the career that I did, but it was time for me to walk away.
I get it. Matter of fact, even the Boston Marathon, I was off that day, and I was just about to pop a beer, and I got a phone call, And they said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just relaxing. What's going on? Do you have the TV on? I said, no, I have music, music playing and stuff like that. They said, well, turn your TV on. There's just been an explosion in Boston during the marathon. Dateline, they want to do an hour primetime special. Can you come in and direct it? So I said, sure.
Wow.
So it's one of those where you're thrust into you're building the crew, you're building all your elements. You got Brian on the set. He's they're bringing all the elements in, and you're piecing all this stuff together. And you've got only a couple of hours to put a whole primetime special together. So.
Yeah.
It's pressure, but as you said, that's the good and it's the bad.
It's the good and the bad. All right, we're going to take another quick break. We're back with Steve Lucas when we return. You're listening to the Power Play Show.
Well, hello, friends. My name is Valerie Molyneux. I'm President and CEO of VitFriends Vitiligo Support Community. I'm one of the 5 women featured in the upcoming documentary film entitled More Than Our Skin. This documentary tells about the 5 of us and our journey of living and coping daily with vitiligo. We're excited. We're so excited to announce our raffle. This is the kickoff of our raffle that'll go now through November 30th. And this raffle offers 4 amazing prizes, all of which is in support of this project, and we are needing your support. And so we're asking that you would visit our website. It's morethanourskin.org/raffle, where you'll get all of the details about the raffle. We so desire your support. We so desire that you will share this. Send this out to your friends, your family, your co-workers. Let them know that this is a very important project about this vitiligo and this neglected community. And we want to showcase this in this documentary, and we need your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, visit morethanourskin.org/raffle. Have a great day.
Welcome back to the Power Play Show with my guest, Steve Lucas. Steve, what has been your greatest joy in your television career?
Wow, that is a great question. The greatest joy, I would say, working with the crew. Your family. It's you got to realize that, we go through, as you said, all of the things that, specials and catastrophe, tragedies, and this, that, and the other. It's the camaraderie on the headset that, and also talking to the crew, and just, we form a bond, and it's just, on the headset, there's, little jokes, little comments that everybody makes, the sort of, and they keep everybody going, and it's little things to spark all of that excitement. It's some of it you can't share, but it's good. Can't. It's so. I would say that to me is probably one of the best things as far as is working with the crew, and having everybody pull together, and we all get along. It was great from that, and I think that's, no matter where I am, that's the type of thing, that personality I try to inflict with the crew, is to have a good time, but also to let's get the job done.
What do you miss, if anything?
I miss the people. I don't miss the craziness. I don't miss the work, but I do miss the people. Yes,
And talk about your life now after television. You are retired. As young as you are retired. What do you do now? What are you doing now?
Well, besides drive my wife crazy, one of the things when I was in school at IU, I took up photography, and I was, shooting for a little bit for the campus newspaper, and I would shoot and stuff. So I really became, a love for photography in the dark room and going there, really trying to get my eye together and I think that helped me as a director further on. So right now, once I retired, there was the crew and the art department, they gave me this big card with everybody's signature and stuff, and I wanted to do something to mount it on the wall and everything, but I wanted to be able to keep the information once I framed it. So there was an idea that get it photocopied and then put it back of the frame, so I could then pull it out years from now. I wouldn't have to take it apart. So we went to a camera store. They said, this is a camera store that should be able to do that for you. So once we went inside, it was one of those camera stores that reminded me of when I was, in college, and you go to those mom and pop kind of camera stores, and sitting around the monitor. They were, printing their own prints and photos and stuff. And, my wife Bev was there, and she was like, you've always liked photography. Why don't you get back into that again? And I haven't had, last camera was a film, was a Canon AE1, which, was, so I said, well, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So I bought a new camera, and it was digital, so I had to teach myself everything and YouTube and find out stuff. And, I said, you know what, this is not a bad thing. This is something that I can keep my eye, I can still be creative. So I, even got with a Nikon ambassador and did a couple of mentor programs with her. And so I started, setting up my own website. And I said, it's a 6-month process. The last 6 months I've been working on, getting my portfolio together. And I was thinking about doing street photography and stuff to get the journalistic eye, but then COVID happened. And it's kind of like, okay, I can't really go out. So I created my studio in the basement and started thinking about doing product photography. So, and then what that does is it brings all my talent as a director for lighting, your subject, composition, all of that. So that's my therapy. So, I got the website together. I'm now just trying to get into a little bit of maybe product photography and sell myself that way. At least it'll pay for some of the equipment and gear to justify to the wife,
The
that's what keeps me busy right now.
That's what's keeping you busy. Awesome. Yeah. The PowerPLAY show ends with asking our guests 3 quick questions. Uh-oh. My first one, when it comes to the power of television, how would you describe having that awesome responsibility to share the stories with the world?
Invigorating. Are these one-word answers?
They can be.
Okay. I would just invigorating and an honor to be able to, get the information out there. I mean, because if you think about it, we are storytellers, but we are, we're journalists, and making sure that we get that information out to the public. And that to me is, a big honor to be able to do that.
My second question is, what advice would you give to aspiring television directors?
Be patient. Do your work. I know a lot, when you come in, you see these directors, you want to be at this level, but you got to go through the steps. I've worked in several markets, and those were the markets where I was able to cut my teeth. You can't, when you get to the level of like a New York and a network, they don't have room for mistakes. And, so you have to be ready. You have to be on your game. So if you're deciding that you want to be a director, and there's no blueprint. There's, every director has his own path and how they got to where they are. But for me, it was I climbed the markets. I was, as I said, I was in Louisville. I went from Louisville to Terre Haute to Nashville to Cleveland to St. Louis to Boston to New York. So all of that, was where I got my, learned the craft, got my mistakes in and out and everything, and learned what it took to be a director. So be patient, go through the steps. Don't be afraid to move around. I know it's crazy in the beginning, especially if you have a family. And also, one of the things they really don't talk about, especially in the news business, is you're working all the time. Holidays, Christmas, all of that, Thanksgiving. And, so you have to have a partner that is understanding and can deal with, the fact that I won't be home for the holiday there, for Christmas to open a package. We would do it the night before or whatever, so because I was doing the early morning show, and everything. I was there, around 7 a.m. I was at work. So those are the things and sacrifices that if you're really interested and want to be in this business, those are some of the sacrifices that you have to make.
And have a thick skin. If you could sum up your career in one word, what would that word be?
One word. I would say thrilling. Exciting. This has been a good ride. I loved it every minute of it. Yes.
Awesome. Steve Lucas, thank you so much for being my guest today. I'm thankful I was able to work with you for just a fraction of your career, but what I do remember is that you were one of the reasons why I decided I wanted to be a director. You and my mother, of course.
Yes, of course.
But best wishes to you in your retirement. And we got to do this again.
Yes, please. Anytime. I'm free. I'm retired.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Remember, you can listen to past episodes of the PowerPLAY show wherever you subscribe to podcasts, including iHeartRadio, Pandora Podcasts, and now Amazon Music. You can also watch the PowerPLAY show on our YouTube channel. Simply search the Hull Bay Productions Media channel and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we air each Saturday at 5 p.m. on BroncoEyeRadio.com. So be sure to listen to the PowerPLAY show each Thursday for a new episode wherever you subscribe to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, or simply visit thepowerplayshow.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Tonya McGrath. Be well, and with that, in honor of my guest, I fade to black.